Hello, friends. Today we have a very exciting sit down for you guys. I'm here with my friend Jacopo di Battista. He is the winemaker at Querceto di Castellina, and he's come a long way to share some wines with us, share his story. Super excited to get into this. So let's do it.
Thank you.
Please. First up, what do you think?
Okay, so the first wine that we have here, it's a rosé that we produce with Sangiovese 100%. Just let me spend few words about the winery. So we are in Castellina in Chianti. Castellina in Chianti, it's in Tuscany. So we are located in the middle, in between Florence and Siena, and we are in the heart of Chianti Classico. So the wine appellation with the black rooster that you see on the bottle.
Yeah.
So Chianti Classico is mainly Sangiovese. It's a family-run estate. We have 28 acres vineyards.
Woo!
So we produce 60,000 bottles, depends from the vintage.
Yeah.
My grandfather bought the property in 1945. Originally was a vacation estate, so my family is originally from Florence. I still live in Florence, actually. I grew up in Florence, I didn't live at the winery. But my family wasn't behind the wine. I mean, they didn't, of course, like an Italian family, you have your wine, not every day, actually, in my family, on the table. But my grandfather, he used to produce a little bit of wine for himself, family and friends. Mainly, he was selling grapes. At the beginning of the 70s, he decided to rent out all the vineyards. My mom, she moved at the winery in between 88 and 89. She started to do vacation apartments. So we have what is called agriturismo. So we have a complex that is going back to the 1400s that we restore. We have 9 apartments, 1 room, so we can host 41 people there.
Really?
And she
Wow.
started to sell the grapes, actually. Even my mom, she wasn't let's say a wine expert. 98, at the time I was quite young, and I wanted to have my own business, not because I love wine, because honestly I didn't know much about wines. But I thought it's cool to be a wine producer. I'm not a winemaker because I have a winemaker. I started this project with this friend, and she's working still now after 27 years with us still, and that's and this is how I started. We had to replant everything. The vineyards were in super old and bad conditions.
Yeah.
And so we replanted everything. The winery is certified organic, certified in Italy, not here. Here now it's a little bit problematic to do the certification. They introduced new rules. So usually in the US, my wines are not organic wines, but are organic grapes.
Yeah.
But I'm certified, fully certified since 2012.
You know what? As long as you're putting your best foot forward, you're taking care of your winery and your vineyards the best way you know how, and the wine is clean.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Cool.
So, so this is our Sangiovese Rosé, and this is a wine that we produce with Sangiovese. I'm saying I'm laughing all the time because, as you know, I have an American wife. So I didn't produce rosé before because I have to admit I'm not just sometimes, but, it's not that if I go out, I buy a bottle of rosé.
Yeah.
But of course, my main clientele, even at the winery, it's American. And then my wife, when she moved 10 years ago, she said where is my rosé? You know that we say rosé all day.
Yeah.
So I said
rosé all day, baby.
We have to do we started, and super popular, the rosé.
Yeah.
And it's
smells amazing.
Yeah, we are quite a high elevation. Our vineyards, they go from 1,650 to 1,850 feet. So we get a lot of freshness, part from the acidity, from the altitude, and part from the type of soil. Soil, it's really calcareous. We have a lot of limestone. So the ones that tend to be fresh, elegant, with a nice acidity.
Oh, baby. Cheers.
So, cheers.
Salud. There we go. You're right. Crisp, fresh. Beautiful red fruits. You know?
Yeah.
And the minerality, you can,
Yeah.
the limestone. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really food friendly also. So it's a wine that you can pair easily also with some food. Just goes pretty well.
Furtivo.
So Furtivo stands like all my labels they have like an history behind. So Furtivo stands for sneaky. Originally, when we did this label, we did. My wife, she had the idea of my wife, she worked for several years in marketing in the US, and she said like, she imagined someone that was sneaking in the vineyard and taking some grapes that originally goes on the Laura and the Chianti Classico. So we put sneaky, and because I will explain also the other label, but there is a footprint on the other label. So the designer originally put some pop prints. I don't know, they were like, I think that like Italian, they don't understand, but I think it was like a sort of a raccoon. And if you tell it to an Italian raccoon, they think like, oh my God, like, must be like a cute animal.
Raccoons.
But then in 2019, we bought a dog, Elliot, that it's our like mascot. He goes around the winery, comes with us when we do tours and tasting, like in the cellar. And so everyone thought that was, this is where like his paw prints.
Yeah.
So I did this like the tattoo with his paw prints.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and so last year we decided to put. So we transformed this wine. It's quite sneaky. So this is like his wine.
Wow, I love that. Oh, you love your dog.
Yeah, it's traveling with us. Like it's.
Why isn't he here? You should.
No, because my wife, she has to work today, so it's in the hotel. It's like. It comes with us. It's small, so it can fly with us on the cabin, and
that's fantastic.
It's quite easy.
This is delicious. Thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So then we have Livia. Livia, it's our only white that we do. This is a vintage 2022. This is a blend of Viognier Roussanne. So I'm the only crazy producer that does Heron style wine in Chianti Classico.
Hey, you know what?
We have 2,000 vines in total. This is a wine, it's an equal blend, so it's 50% Viognier, 50 Roussanne. The aging here, it's roughly 11 months in French oak. We use tonneaux that are 105 gallons, so 500 liters. And then we do 4 months refining in the bottle. I don't have, unfortunately, the 2023. I didn't produce.
Oh, really? You didn't make one in 23?
No, we didn't produce the 23. So this is they have the last bottles of the 2000. I don't even have home. Like I have like some magnums left, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really popular, this wine. I planted this vineyard in 2008. I wasn't sure, but I said like this is like I like to do something different. This is something a little bit crazy for the area. I said, but if I'm not selling through importers, I will sell at the winery.
Yeah.
But the guess it's a white, otherwise I will drink half of the production. but it's, I mean, it's, it's just people, they started, it's, I'm selling out like immediately.
Really?
And so that, for people that they know the Viognier usually tend to be quite, like has like a peach flavor. It's a little bit like in my opinion, it's a little bit like too sweet.
Yeah.
In this case, it gets more minerality, more freshness that comes from the soil, of course, but also from the Roussanne.
And you planted this vineyard when?
In 2008. It's a super high density vineyard, so it's 1 meter by 1, so means that like Bordeaux style. Of course, I don't have the machine that grows. They go across the rows like they have in France. So like my workers are really happy because they have to work everything by hand, like in the vineyard. But it's cool. And the vineyard, it's really well known because we are quite famous for, if you go like on our social network, you can see, we do vineyard dinner. They are super popular. We've been reviewed like on Forbes in a lot of places. And the vineyard dinner we do 4 times per year during the summer, and they happen in this vineyard. So it's also the Livia vineyard is also well known for this.
The texture.
Yeah.
It's got a little weight to it. It's got some silkiness. Oh my God. So why did you settle on these two varietals?
So it's a funny story. So I wanted, as I mentioned before, we are pretty high altitude, so don't forget this. I wanted to plant Cab Franc.
Okay.
I had this idea of planting Cab Franc. I wanted to do a Cab Franc. I don't know even why I wanted to do, because I tasted something at the beginning of my career. I went in Bordeaux. I tasted, like, I went like big wineries, so I did like Cheval Blanc. Cheval Blanc, it mainly depends from the vintage. So they let me taste a lot of wine. So I said, wow, this is like amazing. So I want to do something like, of course, different. And but you know, was this idea. In 2008, we had this small place. Actually, it's close to the house. We are like on top of a hill, so all the vineyards are pretty steep. This was the only flat space. So I said, let's put like Cab Franc. But you know, 2008, you didn't realize the global warming, so we had problems, honestly, to ripe 20 years ago, the grapes, especially the Sangiovese. So we said
they ripe enough, or they were over ripening?
No, they didn't ripe enough. Like we had problems with alcohol, so we said, like, you know, Cab Franc, if it doesn't ripe properly, it's like a little bit too green. So we didn't want to risk. I'm buying most of my vines to like one of the oldest nursery in France. So the owner, he was there, we did analysis to the soil. He said, why you don't plant Viognier? I said, like, Viognier, it's a little bit too, like, he said, like, try with the Roussanne. So I didn't even know Roussanne. So I started to do some research. I couldn't find a blend 50-50. I remember, 2 wines from Australia that I don't remember, I should remember, but I don't remember which wineries. But I ordered online. Of course, it's Australia, so it's something different.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I decided, okay, let's try. And I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Just trying it out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
I love that. Good for you. And the wine is fantastic.
Yeah, and they age really well,
Yeah,
the wine.
you
They
can
tend
tell.
to age they tend to age really well.
I could drink that all day long. That's fantastic. All right. We're off to a good start.
So now we start with the Chianti Classico. Just let me say 2 words, because you know, I'm a Chianti Classico producer mainly. So, and we are in Chianti Classico. So Chianti Classico is part of the DOCG. DOCG is this little guy that you see here. It stands for Denomination Origin Control Guarantee. It's the highest classification for a wine in Italy. There are 74 DOCG in Italy. Chianti Classico is part of one of them. To produce a Chianti Classico, there are rules and restrictions like all the DOCG. So here we are talking minimum 80% of Sangiovese grapes. We can add no more than 20% of indigenous or international grapes. So we have a selection. There are 3 different layers of Chianti Classico wines: Annata, Riserva, and Gran Selezione. The Annata is a sort of an entry-level wine, so the wines that they require less aging, okay? So 12 months after the harvest. Actually, October 1st, the year after the harvest, you can release the new vintage. So this is our, let's say, I don't love this term, but it's a sort of an everyday wine. It's the first label that we produced in '98. Laura, it's my mom, so we name after my mom, of course, that she's the owner. And we wrote with apostrophe also, so we played, because if you write like this, it's Di Ora or Laura the name, Laura the name.
Laura.
So this is a Sangiovese 100%.
100%. No blend.
No blend.
Nice.
And the wine age part in concrete, usually it's a 50%, and 50% in neutral oak for about 12 months.
Talk to me about the concrete thing, because I've been seeing this more and
They
more.
are coming back. You know, that was like probably was the old, even before, like wood cask was like the old vessel that they use to store the wines. Imagine the old wineries, they had, the old cellar, they had, you know, concrete vessel like built in the structure.
Right.
Now they are coming back. It's a little bit of like a trend, but also because, you know, the market wants and require wines a little bit more fresh with a little bit of more fruit. And the concrete, because they are neutral. So the wines, they are more stable during the evolution. And I introduced like 3 years ago the concrete. Really? I'm pretty happy. I see also the markets. you know, have some markets like, for example, California. It's my biggest market from since I started, and the wines was quite popular. But since I started to introduce the concrete, it was like, you know, people they were really happy. I had more and more clients that are using even a lot by the glass, even here, like in Texas, because it's easy to drink, it's easy to pair. It's quite fresh. It's not like.
Beautiful fresh acid.
Yeah.
Well integrated tannins. You know, it's not ripping your teeth off or anything. That's beautiful. So with the concrete, it's porous, right? So it's letting it.
There are two ways to have the concrete. There are the one that are naked, that they don't have any sort of treatment. I don't trust 100% where the concrete is coming from, even if they say that they guarantee, but concrete is coming from the ground. The ground contains like heavy metal, so I'm not like confident. And honestly, I don't love 100% the flavor, because sometimes I feel like personally like a sort of dusty flavor.
Oh, really?
So it's not. So I use the concrete that I have like a sort of treatment. It's not like painting; it's a special treatment, and they do just so the. You know, in the other side, people they use also for the micro oxygenation.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, the concrete are like this, you know. I don't know the level of micro oxygenation. But there are two ways, like, you know, especially winemakers. There are the one that are pro only naked, the one that are just my winemaker. She's like, no, use only the one that are with the treatment.
Is your winemaker also in charge of tending the vineyards as well? Or?
Yeah, she owns also a vineyard, so she understands really well how, you know, the business works and everything.
Course.
So
Nice. Yeah, this is fantastic. You know, my family on my dad's side is Italian.
okay,
We're from Calabria.
okay,
And I had this vision in my head that I was going to make you the family meatball recipe.
okay.
But yesterday, my son had a basketball game, and we won the game. Instead of going to the grocery store and getting your meatball stuff, we went to a restaurant and had margaritas to celebrate the win. So no meatballs for you, but next time.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
So this is Sei. It's the Gran Selezione. So I don't produce the one that it's in the middle, that it's a Riserva. Gran Selezione was introduced as new layer 11 years ago now. The idea of the Gran Selezione was like to have like something special. Rules here are more strictly, of course. So we are talking about 2.5 years minimum aging. The 2.5 years starts from January 1st following the harvest.
Okay.
So just to understand, every year on July 1st, not before, we can start to release the new vintage, because of 2.5 years.
Got it.
And this is the only of the 3 wines in Chianti Classico that has to be estate 100%. So the winery cannot outsource any juice or fruit. 2 years ago, they have introduced what they create. UGA, additional geographic units, like you have in Piemonte, you have in Burgundy, in Barolo, in Bordeaux, for example. So you can put on the label the village. So here it says Castellina because we are coming from Castellina.
Okay. Very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is, it's a cru, so it's a single plot. It's actually a selection of our main vineyard that it's almost 7 hectares. It's not an overall selection of the best Sangiovese, but are 2 sections of this vineyard.
Okay. Is this 100% Sangiovese?
100% Sangiovese. Yeah, no, I do 2 blend. One is the white and one it's another red that I don't have here, but it's a small production. I prefer to do like single variety. Nice. Even when I buy wines from myself, I appreciate more the wines that are like, you know, 100% Cab, 100% Sangiovese, 100% Merlot, whatever.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So this is a wine that aged 18 months in French oak and 12 months in the bottle. This is a wine that it's pretty perfect for aging. So here you have a wine that has like an aging potential quite long, and it's a 2020 vintage. This is the highest vineyard.
Yeah, and for me, this is just classic. you know, when you think of Chianti, and you can smell just a little bit of that nuance in there, that age, you know. There's a bit more depth here. Out of all of your vineyard property, why did you choose this one for the Gran Selezione?
Because it's the best vineyard. So we have 5 plots, but everything is around. So we are on top of a hill, and we have the main plot. Then we have another plot, another plot, another plot, another plot. So everything is it's connected basically, and there is like end of the plot, wide road, another plot. This is the one that we planted in 2003. It's the best vineyard, where we invested a lot to do this vineyard also. We have like a pretty careful selection of different clones. So in the years we saw that that 2 parts that were the best. So actually it's the one with the steepest incline. And the incline here it's like 35%.
Yeah. The hardest to work yields the
Yeah,
best fruit, right?
1850 feet. The highest part, lowest it's 1750.
Are these elevations normal for Chianti, or are you guys pretty high up?
No, we are considered high elevation, and now there are a little bit higher. Now the trend is to go higher.
Yeah.
Consider that I'm telling all the time this story that when I started, but until like 15 years ago, 18 years ago, I had problems sometimes to reach like even 13% of alcohol.
Really?
Now you are over 14, sometimes 14.5 with the Sangiovese.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And when did that trend start happening? Was this like in the last 4 or 5 years? You think,
No, now it's about 10 years. Maybe.
10 years.
10 years. The summer, it's really warm.
Yeah. So what do you do to combat that? I mean, are you trying to like cover
we try, no, you try like, you know, first of all, you work like we planted a new vineyard, we replanted the vineyard in 2 years ago. So you work with the clones. Now there are clones that are more adaptable to the heat. In Chianti Classico, you are not able to water. So that's, it's dry farming. So you try to, the only way it's like to pick a little bit earlier. So there are some places that they still pick really late, but the risk it's, you know, just in the past people, they used to do a lot of green harvest, de-leaf everything to keep like more sun. Now you try to keep like as much as, except like in some particular vintages, like they cluster like cover from the leaves.
Yeah, you need more canopy cover.
Yeah,
to keep the grapes
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
What about rainfall? I mean, is that
It's depends from the year. So like we went through some really dry winter, mild winter, and dry summer. But even last year was quite dry. Then we had like a bunch of rain all together, and it was a little bit of a problem. The problem is that sometimes you have extreme events.
Yeah.
So like a hail now start to be like a serious problem.
Oh, really?
So there are wineries, just unfortunately it's really expensive, but I don't know the results. I see wineries around me that they start to put like nets like they do like in north of Italy for the fruit.
Yes.
Like 2023, we lost like a lot. We had like a pretty heavy hailstorm. Luckily was, since I started was the second I had in 2010 and 2023. But the white, I didn't produce the white because I lost the entire
it all.
Merlot, I lost everything.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do. I mean,
No.
So are you scaling up on the amount of wines that you're holding back for events like that when you lose a ton of crops?
No, it's for the Chianti Classico you can outsource grapes. For the Gran Selezione you cannot. Like 2000, just to give an idea, usually I do like an average of between 7,000 and 8,000 bottles on this wine. 2023 I was able to select something. I will have, I don't think, more than 2,800 bottles.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's, just I'm not producing this, I'm not producing the other wine, I'm not producing the white. Cab Franc, I will have like 600 bottles.
Wow.
Only, so that I was like lucky because I got the hail at the beginning of May. So cluster, of course, I had just the flowers, so the hail destroyed everything, but I didn't have like problems of mold.
Right.
If you get the hail, like when you have the entire cluster, it's a problem because even the one that are safe, you get like, you know, a bunch of mold. And then I'm organic, so you are limited with the product.
Yeah, how you combat
yeah,
it.
that you can use.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's challenging. I have to say, it's challenging in the last years.
Yeah. And so, what do you see? I mean, what's the future hold? How are we going to? What kind of ideas are being circulated out there, basically, in your region?
But you know, just you have to work in a different way in the vineyards.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for example, my vineyards are all high density, pretty high density, especially for the shape of the soil that I have, the incline and everything, even this vineyard. And so the vines, the idea when we planted was like, because they needed to ripe like properly, so they were really close to the ground to get a lot of heat. Now with the new vineyards, like the first rope where you basically you have the training system, so you bend the vine was like 50 centimeter. Now we go up to 70 because otherwise they get too much heat. Like considering that I have like a bunch of like stones everywhere, they reflect the heat. They heat a lot, and I have, you know, you don't tend to do any more vineyards so the different rows so close, because otherwise they do too much shade. A lot of air doesn't flow in the middle, so you have to work like in a different way, different clones. Also, you know, technology helps.
Yeah.
And you know, and also in short maceration, because you know the markets and the tastes are different, not just the markets. I mean, everyone, like every producer says, like you have to do the wines that you like, you drink. Of course, I like the wines because I like to sell the wines, to speak with the people, to promote the wines. But you cannot do wines that you drink just yourself, like yourself and other people, because at the end it's a business. I'm saying all the time, I'm really brutal honest. You know, a lot of poetry, I do a bunch, like every day I do tours and tasting at the winery, so people that are, this is amazing. It's a lot of poetry, but at the end, you know, people, they shouldn't forget that it's a business.
Yeah, baby. You gotta sell.
You have to sell.
Come on.
Because otherwise, you know, it's a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting take, because I talk to people like yourself, right, who are businessmen who want to make wine that people enjoy, and then there's other producers out there who specifically make wines that they want to make, and that's it. You can take it or leave it. It's an interesting approach.
No, but it's a beautiful. It's stressful. It's a hard job that people sometimes they don't understand all the process. They buy the bottle, they think that comes like this, but there is a lot of work, a lot of efforts, a lot of you know, margins in the last years are quite small, of course. So you work like it's. I will not change this job with anything. I'm like, you know, even if I struggle a lot of like, you know, sometimes I swear like everything, because, you know, you have problems like everywhere, but in every job. But I will never change my, you know, my job. Every morning when I drive from Florence to the winery, I'm saying like, I'm lucky, you know, I'm happy to go and like to do what I do. But it's tough. Like,
of course.
Sometimes it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, anything worth doing is tough.
And then I'm never happy, so that's... I'm saying, like, people, they say, what is your best vintage? I say, well, you know, when I'm tasting a wine that I have to bottle the new with the winemaker, my stuff and everything, I say, will be the best wine. So then once we bottle, I say, we taste the new vintage that has to be like label and everything, bottle. I say, no, this is the best one that we ever made. And they say, like, you're never happy. Yeah, you're never happy.
Never happy, baby. Never satisfied. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Always.
So this is SEI. The SEI stands for, it's number 6. It's a little bit sketchy because the vineyard where we do the selection is 6.6 hectares. 6,666 are the vines per hectare, they yield. And my mom, she was born 6/6/1946.
Wow.
So it's not the devil one, because people, are you crazy? It's like 3/6. There are more than 3/6.
There are more 3/6s, yeah.
And this is a leaf that comes actually from the vineyard. It's a Sangiovese leaf.
Really? Very pretty. Yeah, beautiful labels. Love that. Okay.
Podalirio. Podalirio is our Merlot. So this is an IGT. We go another category. I cannot label as Chianti Classico because 100% Merlot. These wines, the last two, are what people they call also super Tuscans. That it's a marketing. It's an invention of coming from the 70s to classify a certain type of wines. And it's a typical Merlot from the Chianti Classico. Okay. This is a selection that comes from two different vineyards. So the biggest vineyard, the main vineyard, where we have also the Sangiovese. So this vineyard has mainly Sangiovese, a little bit of Merlot, and now a little bit of Cab Franc. Interesting. So this is aged in barrique, so the 50 gallons. And this is a 19 vintage.
A 19?
Yeah, 18 months in oak, in barrique, and 12 months in the bottle. Consider that this is a typical Merlot from Chianti Classico, so don't expect a classic super fruit-forward Merlot from other areas.
Right.
You know, just it's not like an Napa, it's not like an Australian Merlot, so it's more a little bit more tannic, has a nice acidity. It's a wine that aged really well. The first vintage of this wine was 99, so it's quite a while that we produced this wine.
It's not overbearing though, you know.
No.
Sometimes with these Merlot heavy
it's more like a Pomerola, like it's more, you can have probably more similarity to a Bordeaux.
Which is never a bad thing to compare yourself to Bordeaux, right?
And 19 was a great vintage. So.
That will turn any Merlot hater into a lover.
Yeah, I'm saying all the time, this is the Merlot for people that they don't like Merlot.
1000%.
Yeah.
And I've got like 10 people on the top of my head who would absolutely freak out over this wine if I blinded them on it. Yeah. You know? I mean, it's lovely. And you're right. The tannins, they're providing a little bit more structure, a little bit more bite, but it's, for me, it's pleasant, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit of that, a little bit of chewiness to it. That's incredible. This is 100% Merlot, or it's
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I love that you do that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Just go ahead and leave that one here for me. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
So this is another story. So this is first of all, it's a wine that I brought from Italy last week. It's the first vintage. It's 2021 vintage, and it's 100% Cab Franc. So finally, I was able to do a Cab Franc. The main vineyard where we have the Sangiovese for the Gran Selezione and this had, but in 2003 when we planted a little bit of Alicante Bouschet that actually I never used for my wines. At that time, you have to think that the idea of the wines, the market required wines with more concentration, more color, a little bit of more alcohol. So being a high altitude could be like at that time a good solution. When I started to ripe, honestly, I didn't like. So I started to blend with the juice that I was selling at that time with two other wineries. Then, like in the last years, I did like some bottles of a selection for a friend that was a little bit blended with Sangiovese, with Merlot. I grafted several years ago a good part of the Alicante with Sangiovese, and in 2019 I said, you know what, I'm starting to graft a little bit with Cab Franc. So I grafted a total of 3,000 vines between 2019 and 2020. For the people that they don't know, grafting, it's a practice that I'm calling like cheating, because like in 2 years you have a full-grown vine, and if you have like vines in good condition with good like fruit, like clone, it's perfect, because now I have vines that are fully mature in production with roots that are down from more than 20 years, because this was a vineyard planted in 2003. It's the part in between the two different clones of that I use for the say, so it's a high elevation.
Okay.
We did only 1,100 bottles on this wine.
Okay.
So I think that with the 3,000 bottles, I will not do more than 2,000 bottles. I don't want to do more. And even this one, it's not a classic Cab Franc that you expect. Maybe in Tuscany, like, there are some great Cab Franc from Bolgheri, so the coast. It's a little bit different. And it's a Cab Franc from Chianti, so it has a lot of characteristic of the soil, the elevation, the place.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've never had Cab Franc from Italy.
There are some examples that I don't want to do publicity, but there are some I can tell you later.
Yeah. Mm. Wow.
It's young because this is a big wine.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like overpowering. And the aging here, it's a little bit longer. So it's 20 months in barrique, so the 50 gallons, and 12 months in the bottle. So we just started to release this wine at the end of November.
So what's your percentage? How much of your wines are you exporting to outside Italy, and how much is
I'm really bad in Italy now. I'm working. I hope the next week I hope I'm like finger crossed I will have like a good news. But I'm selling like probably over 80% outside of Italy. Yeah, US is my main market. That it's divided between importers and what I sell at the winery. I sell honestly a lot to the winery because we do a lot of. We are pretty strong with tourism, tours and tasting. We do lunches. So we ship, but 90% of the people that they buy are you guys. Like European, they don't buy. They buy a bottle. The Americans, they come, like the first thing, like some people, they didn't even taste the wine. They come, they say, do you ship? Can I ship 2 cases? Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
You are here for this.
That's funny. Interesting.
Yeah, it's, people, they buy a lot. So I sell a lot. I do a little bit like, I do Europe, I do Brazil, I do Russia now, it's a little bit complicated.
Oh, wow.
I do Israel, that it's complicated too. I do Australia, but US, Canada a little bit, but US is my main market. Also because I spend a lot of time here from several years. So I consider like some part of the US, especially California, my home far from home, so I come a lot.
How did you end up in California?
I started to work in California in 2004, so I became obsessed with California. Imagine, I was at the beginning at this importer that is Italian, it's a dear friend. He came and said, are you interested to sell the wines in San Francisco? I said, wow, to sell wines in California. I was dreaming California. So that I started to go, I was like his obsession that I was calling every 6-7 months. Dino, I'm coming. He said, you was here 7 months ago. Don't worry, just I'm coming, I need to work the market.
Yeah.
And, most of my clients now are friends. When I go down, like I organize by myself, wine dinner with clients, and he called me and said, like, this client called me, like, we have a wine dinner, you organize everything. Yes, for them it's easy. And then like 10 years ago I lived so I spent like three different winters, like for several months, like in Los Angeles. I call that's is my home far from home. People, they know that, they say like, what's wrong with you? Why you like LA? But I don't know, there
because
is something.
Nice there.
And I met my wife, she used to live in Napa.
Okay.
So we met in Napa. I was in LA, she was in San Elena, so I was going up and down. Then the year after, she moved to Los Angeles. I went back to LA, we lived together there. So our idea, I said, okay, now we do like back and forth, like we do 6 months. So we started to buy stuff for the house in France. I said, why you are buying? You are going back in April. Yeah, we'll put in a storage. Then 1 month before, I said, like, this is like dream kids. Like, this is like stupid. So we started to sell everything.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
I'm saying, like, thanks God you have Craigslist. I discovered Craigslist. We sold everything. I remember I saw like this guy came. I had like a shelf, I bought like IKEA. I said, can I buy? I said, I give you $40. I said, I paid 60. You can go to IKEA. No, I want to buy. Okay,
great.
We sold everything. But anyway, then after 2 years, we got married in Napa because it's where we met. And but I go every year, like, just.
Yeah, of course.
It's
It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we met in Florence, actually.
Yeah, okay.
I was living in Piazza Strozzi.
Okay.
And where were you? She was over by the Duomo.
Yeah. I live on the Lungarno della Zecca, that it's, where is the public library, behind like Santa Croce, so I live right there.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. I live like, just when I started to do the wine, I told to my mom, like, I will do this, but don't ask me to live here. I need to get out in the evening because it's like my idea. It's like I sleep in the office. So I need to disconnect a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there a point where you were coming of age and your mom came to you and said, "Hey, it's time for you to take over," or how did that?
No, because I wanted to. I was doing something different. I was working in tourism, so I travel a lot. I was living. I was telling yesterday that. So I work for an Italian company that had like resort similar to acclaimed. So I was taking care of the hotel side. So for several years I did like I was doing like 6-7 months in one place, coming back 1 week and then going another place. So I did like Caribbean, Maldives, Africa, Zanzibar. So it wasn't a bad life actually. And but at the end, at the end, I was a point of my career. I could be like a general manager of one of the structure. That meant like I had to be like in Kenya for like 2 years. That I wanted to have my own business. So at the beginning, I thought to take over the agriturismo, so the vacation apartments. My mom, she was at that time still young. So she said, "This is my baby. If you want, there are the vineyards." People, they were staying with us, but they didn't understand. My mom, she was selling the grapes and they wanted to buy our own wine. So I said, cool, but as I say, just the most fascinating part for me, I said like, okay, I will start to travel, to meet people, because this is the part that I love. You see how much I talk. But
I love it. I'm loving it. Wow.
so this is last word. So this is my wine actually.
Okay.
Because we started more than 1 year to this label with my graphic designer. That it's a great guy that is quite famous, like in Milano. So my name is Jacopo, Jacopo. So my friends, they like old friends. They used to call me since I was a kid, Yak, like a nickname. So I decided to call Yak. Then my biggest passion, like obsession, I would say, since I was like 14, so I couldn't even drive, are cars, sports car. So I'm what you call a petrol head. So the guy said, like I said, you have to do something that represent me. So he did this. So this is this actually represent like a V8. An iconic,
V8 engine.
and then there are some iconic cars like Ferrari F40 that I cannot afford, of course, but it's something that I dream. And so that's funny because I bought actually a base of a V8 Maserati engine.
Yeah.
So with the photographer, I did like a series of picture. So I have this series of postcards that they will come with each case.
Very cool.
With there are 3 different, 2 in the vineyard and 1 in the cellar with the bottles instead of the cylinder. And so that's
very cool.
Yeah, and we build like a marketing behind this. Even the paper that is coming out has this symbol, the sticker. So everything that I want to do some T-shirts and something. So it's for.
How critical is the marketing in terms of like selling the wines? I mean, do you how much time do you spend thinking about labels and stuff?
So labels are important. When I started in '98, the first idea was, just to focus also on the label and the wine of each wine. So like, I give you an example. Laura, for example, it's what is called Annata, the entry-level Chianti Classico. There are a lot of producers that they don't put the name on the entry-level wine. It's just Querceto di Castellina, the winery, and that's it. Usually they put a name of a vineyard to the top wines. I wanted to focus just for one reason, because I'm like, in an area that it's really famous, but where there are wineries that have an history behind. I didn't have an history. I mean, my grandfather bought in 1945. So if he was labeling the wine, even doing like crappy wines basically, but if he was labeling the wine, at least I had an history. I could go back years and years. I have wineries without doing the names that they made the history of the appellation. They create the appellation, but they are like iconic wines all over the world, like known everywhere. So the area Chianti, it's the sub-region. The appellation is Chianti Classico. It's 1/3 of Napa, so it's not really big, but it's dense of vineyards. Like member of Chianti Classico has wineries, so vineyard and cellar. We are a little bit over like 350.
Wow.
So there are a lot, but there are a lot of wineries that they have a big, history behind, like 8, 9, 10 generation.
Right.
So In terms of selling, it's hard in the last years. Everything is based on connection, so you can do like events, wine fair. Like there is Vinitaly coming like in like 1.5 months, but it's tough now because there are a lot of wineries. So even a Chianti Classico, like every importer that has Italian wines has at least one in Chianti Classico. So you have to be. Doesn't matter if you have like good prices, good products. Now the level of the Chianti Classico is pretty high.
Yeah, it's very
so
high.
if you taste like 100 bottles of Chianti Classico, you can say I prefer this versus this one, but the quality is pretty high, I have to say. So it's difficult now to find a wine that say, oh my God, this is terrible.
Right.
So you have to be at the right time in the right place.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, and it's tough. Now, you know, there are European communities not helping because they want to, there is this big fight. They want to put the same thing that you have like behind the packet of cigarettes. That is really,
like a
it's dangerous.
whatever.
Now we have to put a QR code moving from vintage 2024. Only in Europe you don't see, but that says all the nutrition facts. So you have to put calories, how much, like people all the time they ask me about the sugar. The sugar, this is our wines dry, so the residual sugar is less than 1 milligram per liter. Now there is this big trend of free alcohol wines that people, they don't realize that they have a bunch of sugar.
Right.
So they don't have alcohol, but they have a bunch of sugar, and they are not wines. So
I'll tell you this much right now. If you're sitting here drinking something beautiful and all you can think about is the numbers or the sugar or the alcohol, you're missing the point. You know what I mean? Switch to water, okay? Because
no, it's true.
this is more than just, especially in the American market, speaking just from experience. Look, the alcohol is part of the wine. Number one, you take alcohol out of wine, it's not wine. That's first and foremost. Secondly, there's so much nuance that it adds to the experience that you're not even comprehending. And if you're overthinking about it, you're not fully getting the experience of what we're doing here, right? Like, this is bringing people together, you know. And this no alcohol thing, this labels on the back so everybody's aware, dude.
But there is like the abuse, of course. We were talking yesterday. You know, there is this stuff of sulfites. I have people that they come and say, you know, I don't understand why the wines here they don't, you know. I have a headache. I said, like, maybe because you drank 2 bottles.
Yeah. Yes.
It's normal. I mean, like, I would have just, and then, you know, the wines, they represent a place. They represent, like, there are a lot of things behind the bottle that sometimes people, they don't realize. And, you know, of course, the abuse, it's not good. But even I love cheeses, but if you eat every day like a bunch of cheese, it's not healthy for you.
It's not good. Yes.
It's the same stuff, actually. Yeah. I mean, because like, you know, I don't want to say the brand, but, you know, all these like energy drinks and everything, these are good. You know, they have like a bunch of sugar, a bunch of like chemical inside wines. Now there is the trend of natural wines, or are natural wines. This is our natural. I don't, you know, just all.
I couldn't agree more with you. Yeah. And I think that this is just a phase, and I think it will pass.
Yeah,
ultimately, because people got to come together over this. How can you not? You know what I mean?
No, but it's wine. It's something that, you know, just connect people. You know, it's nice to see. These are actually all the wines that we produce. Not me, but Chianti Classico wines from Italy are food wines.
Yes.
So our wines that are made to enjoy with food. So you imagine a table with friends, with family, you have your meal and your wine, and then you discuss. And also wines are beautiful because, you know, we can discuss if wine it's well made or not, and then it's a matter of taste. Maybe, you know, you can say, you know, this is a great Cab Franc, but I don't like Cab Franc, so I prefer like Laura because I prefer like more simple, like fresh indigenous grapes. Like, you know, just this is
It's a
And
preference.
that's, you know, this is also the beauty of a bottle, that, you know, connect people they can discuss. They can.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing
Thank you
your
for your
wines.
time.
Thanks for coming to my home and hanging out with us for a little bit.
Thank you.
Perfect. I think that's a wrap, right?